ignore it or are able to interpret it in a way that consultation will go along and actually just tell you about something, we're not actually consulting. To the point where we've even had court cases about what does consultation mean. And so this is something that our people have continued to work on, and I think particularly at the local level there have been some real wins there, such as there are co-management agreements over some of our lakes between local tribal peoples and our iwi and these city governments. And it's not perfect, there's lots of things we still have to do, but it was definitely a start. Now, of course, the problem is that with the nature of recent governments, that is all absolutely going down the drain. A particular situation that I wanted to just share as part of growing our understandings of Indigenous treaties worldwide is about our Fushuan seabed. So I don't know if any of you had heard about the Fushuan seabed case, but it's really straightforward. In 2003, our government was busy negotiating with the government of Australia as to the boundaries on the continental shelf. The continental shelf is our waterways, is our sea, well, the Pākehā word for the sea, from in between our two countries, and so they were negotiating as to where those boundaries are and who actually officially owned those places. And it came to light that in fact, both under customary law and the Treaty of Waitangi, because Māori have actually never sold those places of land, that anything that the government's talking about is actually still held in Indigenous ownership. How that came about is that some iwi had been trying to negotiate with their local governments under the Resource Management Act and under the Local Government Council to establish some aquaculture farms, and had always been turned down. So what they did is that they went to the Māori Land Court to see whether or not our Māori Land Court could confirm whether or not there is Indigenous title over our Fushuan seabed due to the iwi. Now, the Court of Appeal in New Zealand agreed that yes, they did. Yes, they did. There was a bit of an issue over jurisdiction where the Māori Land Court wasn't sure, because this would be the first case that actually looked at land underwater. And so the Court of Appeal decided yes, they could. 3 days later, our government came out and announced their intention to confiscate that land. What they said was invest title, but to confiscate that land in terms of that they were confirming Crown ownership of that land. And so some of the pictures that you are seeing are the protests that Māori have engaged in since that time to say that we do not acknowledge this act, we do not recognise this act. This is just further evidence of what is in fact illegal that our coloniser parliament now, which is now just the New Zealand government parliament, continues to do. And so since that time, that was in 2004 where the first Fushuan seabed legislation ended up being passed into an act. There have been some developments since then. The Marine and Coastal Act has passed, which replaced that, but all it did was take the idea of Crown ownership and said, oh no, the Crown doesn't own it. Nobody owns it. We just manage it. So they invented a notion of public space, and sure enough, over the past year, we have had really massive protests on the streets as well and in the local areas, because our government are now rigorously seeking foreign investors to come and start fracking and drilling in our waterways and inland. So, yeah, thank you again. This is really special to be able to talk on our Treaty Waitangi Day. So that's just a little bit of information about some of the things that are happening with us, but I look forward to learning more about what's happening over here. So, Indigenous solidarity and support of treaties. Kia ora.
I'd like to invite Alan to be our next speaker.
Thank you. Yora. And Bitaki Wewasi, which is in the language of my grandfathers, we are all related. And I feel like that whenever I have time to spend with the Maori people, that they are all our relations. And certainly when those of us who are from this country, tribal people, we recognize a relationship that we are part of a big family. Even though we are different tribes from different parts of the country, we certainly have a whole lot more in common than we do with the outsiders, the colonizers, and their descendants. So I took 3 pages of notes from our previous 2 speakers because I think they shared some very good information with us. But I really wanted to condense my remarks to just a couple of points with the hopes that if we opened the floor for questions, there would be a chance for people who are here, in the audience to engage. And so the 2 points I wanted to make kind of relate to the work that I've been able to do or privileged to do to serve as a policy advisor, informal policy advisor with the political organizations that the tribes, our U.S. tribes, have created. And in this part of the country, there is an organization called the Affiliated Tribes of Northwest Indians. And as most of you will know, that is an organization of approximately 54 tribes who are located, who live in Washington State, Oregon, Northern California, Idaho, and southern tip of Alaska, the southeast portion of Alaska, as well as the western side of Montana. I am a citizen of the Chippewa Cree tribal nation, which is located in Montana, and we traditionally, our tribe has been a member of the Affiliated Tribes of Northwest Indians. And because my duties here involve teaching graduate students in our graduate program of Masters in Public Administration program, and within that program, my teaching partner and I, Linda Moonstump, and I think, Linda, are you still here? Yeah, raise your hand. So Linda and I have worked together as a team to create this program basically 10 years ago. Our first class graduated in 2002, and now, that I have decided to retire, I'm looking for somebody who can take it over. And I know the college is in the process of attempting to hire my replacement. But because my job has been to teach tribal graduate students about tribal government in the context of public administration, I have made a special effort to try to keep up to date with what's going on in general among our tribes in their political relationships. Not only with each other, but with our state and local governments that surround us, and in recent years, trying to give a special focus on our political relationships with other indigenous nations, our relatives north of the border in Canada, First Nations,